Hello, I just want to show you guys a track that I was working on so newbies can see this. Um, but Arksun has a track called Arisen, and he uses these really deep atmospheric pad sounds to build out this really lush kind of atmosphere in the beginning of the track. And the focus of this video is really the pads that are in the intro and then the bass that I'm doing, which is similar to what he's doing in that track. But I just want to show you guys, like, you don't have to go insane to build something that sounds pretty good in FL Studio. So all I'm doing here is I have a sub kick that is dry, and it hits 4x4. And then I clone that kick and I put it into reverb, and I just did a one shot with it that sounds like that. And in FL Studio, what's really cool is you could set your own side chains and you could plug them in as patterns, and you could have a different kind of side chain effect that plays. So I have a 4-on-4 side chain. This clap is going to number 2, which has a P controller on it, and that P controller is linked over here, and this will bounce up and down, and you can find other videos to show you how to do that. That's not what this video is about, but I'm just sidechaining that, and it's being bussed over here. All of the pads, the bass, and the kick are being bussed to number 8, and then I'm adding some compression on that, and I also automate some distortion. But you can see over here I can change the pattern of the sidechain, so I can have a solo where the sidechain just hits once, and then I also drew in a different sidechain that's a bit more offbeat, and you can see it hits over here and then halfway on the third. And what I'm doing here is I'm just building this really dark sound that starts in the intro, and you can see what I'm doing here. I have citrus, and I'm using a preset called atmosphere, and that sounds like this, and it's down really low. But it just adds more high end to this dark pad. And this is a sample that I'm using in Omnisphere. It's called Endless Opera Pad, and it's a really dark sound. Let me unmute that. And I layer that with the other pad. And you can barely hear that higher sound with the high frequencies, that atmosphere, but it just adds more of a bite to that deeper pad. And that pad is playing in the intro over here. And it's going into that side chain, that offbeat side chain that I showed you before. And that side chain dips the sound on that dark pad. So that the track is just starting off with that dark pad, and then I have these samples that I found over here. I wanted some kind of like explosions. I was gonna do some kind of like battle sound, and I'm still not sure where this is gonna go. But these are just explosions. And I also added some underwater bubbles. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use this in the final, but I just wanted some more organic sounds. And so I have those explosions playing, that dark pad playing, and I have some water sounds. And then after the first 8 bars, I introduce this pad over here. It's a really beautiful pad sound, and I'm just using the velocity to slowly fade in the pad as it starts in the track, and you can see that over there. And then I also had this bass that isn't identical to Arksun, but it's a really groovy bass, and I was studying it, and I figured out how to do it, and I'm using Silent. So let me show you the first layer. The main layer is this bass right here, using a preset called Bass Alto and Silent. And you can see the notes for that over here. And then I have a second sound in Silent that's playing those same notes, using a different bass sound, and I'm using an effect sound called Effects Evolving. And then I have that third Silent is using that first bass alto sound. All I did here was just slow down the attack on the filter, so it has more of a sweeping sound to it. You can see these notes over here, and you can see how the bass kind of goes up at the end there, and then I had these sweeping sounds that are happening right before the bass is kind of moving up and swinging at the end. And I'm also adding some noise to this using 3 oscillator, and you can see the noise is hitting right as that swing is happening in the bass. And it's just 2 really quick shots, and so all of these elements played together sound like this. So you can see I'm using 4 different sounds to kind of create pressure at the end of where that bass is swinging. And that's pretty, if you listen to his bass, he's using noise on the bass that's hitting right as the swing and that bass is happening. But let me show what else I have going in here. I have a crash. I have that crash playing at a lower volume. And I think it might also be a higher pitch too. I think I moved it up an octave. Yeah, it's on C6 and it's playing a little lower. The other one's on C5 playing higher. I have drum grooves that I did. And let me just show you. I'm using a snare. I think I'm using some processed hat sounds. And it sounds like this. And that is playing right before the kick drops in. So that's playing over here. I have a snare filler. And again, I'm just trying to accentuate that where the movement in the bass line is happening, and I'm using drum sounds to do that. And I have some shakers and runners. And a lot of these scores, I have scores that I write and I save them in a score folder, and I just drag them out when I want to write drums. It makes it much easier to do. I have an open hat. And to add more dynamic, I'm using 2 different real hats. They're slightly different loops, different samples. And they're just hitting to add a little bit more swing into the hat momentum. I think they're actually the same. They're the same hat sound, but one is a shorter sustain. I have a clap I'm doing. It's a really snappy kind of clap, and again, it's kind of similar to what he's doing in the track. And again, you can see me, I'm using this third sample to accentuate or amplify the end of the beat, to add more swing. So when you do this on different elements over and over, and like if you're focusing on the end of the bar where, say, the swing of the bass is happening, and then you can use other drum samples to accentuate those same segments in time, and it just adds a lot more power to the beat. I have some really weird stuff I did with loops. I did this pretty quickly. And it's just going into an EQ and camel space preset. I have another loop. And it's just playing at the end of the beat, again, to accentuate the end of the beat. I have another loop where I'm just fading in the velocity. And all of those loops are coming in here, and you can see, so that pad plays, and then I drop the bass in, and then the kick plays in, and then I bring the pad in a little bit, and then I break out the beat, and then I basically have a melody that's playing on the same chords as the pad. And I'm using a patch and Omnisphere to do this. You'll hear it as the filters open up later in the track. But that's all I'm doing in this track. I have that dark pad. I'm doing that offbeat sidechain early on. As the kick comes in, you can see I changed the sidechain pattern, so it's hitting as the kick is hitting. And let me just show you what this sounds like. Really quick, I forgot this. This is a texture preset that I'm using in Silence, and it's just to add some texture behind that darker pad. And you can't hear because the fader is down. I'm automating the fader on that. And so as that dark pad is playing, I'm just upping the fader a bit and then dropping it down. And it's just adding some texture on top of that dark pad. But let me play this again. Okay, so that's what it sounds like, and it sounds pretty cool. I mean, considering the amount of time, I didn't really put a lot of time into this. But there are so many more elements and things I can do, and you can see like I named the melody after a drum because I was planning to work a lot more with drums in this track, and I might change it up a bit. But uh, like this is a really cool way. All I'm really doing is just building a bed of pads in the intro, and like you can use some really dark, deep pads at a lower octave, and then you could use these textured sounds, and you could cut all of the low end on those textured sounds, and you could just use the velocity and automate that, and you could add these really bright textures on top of those dark pads, and then you could send everything into a sidechain, and you could do the most whacked out kinds of side chains on that pad if you want it to really dip and flow. Um, and then you could have like I added that brighter pad that adds the actual melody, and it's just this bed of pads that just opens up, and then you could add so many different elements, and I love that track. It's one of my favorite tracks ever, and I had to get around to trying to copy it, and just wanted to show other people how you can go about it. But if you like the video, please like the video and subscribe and come back for more. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.